Namaste. Today's video is an introduction to the Hindu polity and is an effort to bring to your notice a huge inaccuracy of facts such as this. Before the Britishers came here to India, there was a complete absence of republic setup and values in the Bharatiya political system. Well, as per some, there never existed a political system in Bharat. In this video, I would quote references from Vedas, Ramayana and Mahabharata to make a case for Hindu polity, Hindu Rajya Vyavastha. Since we are referring mostly to the times before foreign invasions happened, I am using the term Hindu Rajya Vyavastha for the ease of understanding. It does not reflect necessarily the present polity. So without wasting much time, let us begin. Now, before we go to the main agenda of the day, let me tell you how the English education system has impacted our minds. Sir George C. Birdwood, who worked as an administrator in the British India, wrote, and I quote here, "Our education has destroyed their love of their own literature and delight in their own arts, and worst of all, their repose in their own traditional and natural religion. It has disgusted them with their own homes, their parents, their sisters, their very wives. It has brought disaster into every family so far its baneful influences have reached." Given this was noted 100 years ago, we can barely imagine the impact it has had since then, for we have continued the same education system even after our independence. It would be extremely important to understand that India, that is Bharat, and its civilization and culture must be seen through a local lens and not through the Western or any other foreign lens. As they say in the corporate world, it has to be localization. Therefore, Hindu Rajya Vyavastha must also be understood through the local lens, which would mean that the Hindu polity could easily be very different from the present polity which we inherited from the British. What went wrong is the secondary step, and also, whatever went wrong, was it because the principles were fundamentally wrong, or was it the fault at execution of those fundamental principles? Let me begin with few examples from Ramayana. When Sri Hanuman is brought to the court of Ravan, it is noted by Vibhishan and others in his court that Sri Hanuman could not be hurt since he is the messenger or ambassador of another nation. You may very well imagine that even in those days, our polity was so developed that there were rules on how to treat the ambassadors of other nations. Even in today's world, we practice the same principle in the foreign policy. In the Ayodhya Kand of Ramayana, Sri Bharat met Sri Ram. Sri Ram talks to him in detail about border security, internal security, law and order situation, health of the citizens, military prowess, values and ethos, that is dharma, in the citizens and courtiers, etc. To summarize, he says that the king who rules the kingdom with this intelligence, knowledge of law and values and ethos of dharma, and serves his citizens is entitled to rule the world and deserves heaven after his death. In the Aranyakand, Shurpanakha goes to the court of Ravan and is agitated at him, as he and his secret agencies were not even aware of the existence of Sri Ram and Sri Lakshman. She says, the enemy has entered your region, Jansthan, and you do not know what kind of secret agencies you have. In any political system, we know how important are the secret agencies and the intelligence inputs provided by them. This was an integral part of the Hindu polity even in the times of Ramayana. From the times of Ramayana, let us move to Mahabharata. The number of Hindu polity examples which we see in this Mahagranth are so vast that it could easily be said as the ocean of political principles. We would talk about a few here. Kanik, who was the political guru of Dhritarashtra, in his summary, his policy was end justifies means. Essentially, do whatever it takes to reach your goal. Does not matter what path you take. Right and wrong is not to be worried about. Even if you have to bow down to your enemy for a short while, do it, and when you get a chance, finish him. Sri Vidur's Niti is the exact opposite of Kanik's. Talks to Dhritarashtra in detail about the dharma of the king, taxation system of the state, building a corruption-free society, duties of the minister, etc. He states, "In the end, I am telling you the highest virtue, that one must not leave the path of dharma because of desires, fear or greed. Even if one's life is in danger, one must not leave the path of dharma." Next comes the conversation between Sri Yudhishthir and Sri Bhishma Pitama from the Shanti Parv. Sri Yudhishthir asked many questions to Pitama, but he specifically asked about governance, that is, dand. Today we understand dand as punishment, but technically the term means governance or dand prashasan. He asked, what is dand? What are the different forms of dand? How is it established? What is its constitution? Which one is a healthy governance? How is governance done to serve the citizens, etc., etc. Pitama elaborates him all these in detail. It is interesting to note that Mathura and Dwarika were called Ganarajya or republics. The Lok Sabha at Dwarka was known as Sudharma. The shlokas which he read from Manusmriti are still inscribed in the Sansad Bhavan. It is a well-known fact that in relatively modern Bharat, Vishnugupta, or popularly known as Chanakya or Kautilya, wrote another Mahagranth on polity, Arthashastra, during the modern times. Arth does not mean economics as it is known today. It means polity. The way the word dand gradually started meaning punishment from governance, the way the word dharma started meaning religion from the original meaning of values and ethos, the same way Arth started to mean economics from polity. Chanakya describes Earth as this: the land that is inhabited by men. The science which is the means of gaining and protecting that land is the science of earth. It is equally interesting to note that in his Arthashastra, he quotes many thoughts of wisdoms from various scholars, including Manu, Vishalaksh, Bhardwaj, Paraskar, Gaur Shiras, and Katyayan. This clearly denotes that the political studies and political systems were existent in Bharat even before Britain put their foot on this Punya Bhumi. Moving on, let us discuss the role of Samiti, Sabha and King. Samiti technically was a group of people who would elect or re-elect the king. Sabha was another important institution of those times, just as Samiti. The duties of these institutions were not only to guide and support the king in his rule, but also to keep an eye on the actions of the king, to oversee if his actions are as per dharma. As we know now that republic institutions were an integral part of Hindu Raj Vyavastha, and the general public would elect the king, and hence the ceremony was called as Rajyabhishek. Look at the strength of Samiti, Sabha and this republic, which goes to Maharaja Dashrath and tells him that even though you are still physically and mentally fit to rule the nation, we would ask you to do Rajyabhishek of Sri Ram. He must now be made the king, and Maharaj Dashrath must agree to their advice. In fact, you might be surprised that Manusmriti has enough instructions that if the king is not following the path of dharma and has become corrupt, the citizens through the Samiti and Sabha can get the king impeached, jailed for his corruption and even killed. Given the education system we have had since our political freedom from the British rule, and keeping in mind the number of non-fiction books an average urban Bharatiya reads other than what is in our school and university curriculum, the decline in dharma and in understanding of our own socio-political and economic system is well expected. I hope this small video would generate some interest in you to understand these systems. And once we have read and understood those, I am confident that they would give a new direction to our political future, as the principles hold true even today. They are Sanatan, that is eternal principles. I am leaving you with a small video clip from the TV series Chanakya, which describes aptly the position of a king as per the Vedas and Shastras. Vande Mataram.
राजा, मंत्री परिषद, सेनापति, सैनिक, प्रजा और देश का परस्पर संबंध क्या है?
राजा राज्य रूपी वृक्ष का मूल है, मंत्रिपरिषद उसका धड़ है, सेनापति उसकी शाखाएं हैं, सैनिक उसके पल्लव है, प्रजा उसके पुष्प है, देश की संपन्नता उसके फल है और समस्त देश उसका बीज है।
राजा का हित किस में है?
राजा का हित प्रजा के हित में होता है।
यानी मैं प्रजा का अहित करूं तो मेरा भी अहित होगा।
हां।
तो क्या तुम्हारे शास्त्रों के आगे मेरा सामर्थ्य कुछ भी नहीं?
नहीं।
कौन कहता है सामर्थ्य ही शास्त्रों को जीवित रखता है? मूर्ख! बोलो, क्या है तुम्हारे शास्त्रों की दृष्टि में मेरी स्थिति?
एक वेतनभोगी सेवक से बढ़कर कुछ नहीं।
तो मैं यहां बैठे लोगों का सेवक हूं। उत्तर दे मूर्ख!